happiness. Gosh, it's one of those things where many times we seek outside validation for our happiness. Say what? Yes, when we really sit in the moment of happiness, we really need to consider what is influencing our happiness and what things are we using or trying to control, in a sense, to create happiness. Honestly, happiness is an inside job, and that's what we're going to dive into today on episode 22. Stay tuned. We all have situations, experiences, and moments in our life when we know deep at our core we have to do something different. We have to pivot. And regardless of how big or small that pivot is, it requires us to change something in our life. And that change can feel really uncomfortable. However, it is that change that is creating something entirely new. And it is that newness that creates a very different way of life in one area or multiple areas of our life. What's this all about? It is all about reinventing thyself. My name is Michelle Shutter, and I'd like to welcome you to Reinventing Thyself. I am so glad that you joined me today, because it is here that we'll move beyond our old self, our old identity, and that trailer of garbage from the past that we like to pull into the future, but really need to ditch that hitch. It is here that we'll move into that place of reinvention and embracing the newness of it all. Are you ready to step into reinventing thyself? Because guess what? It is never too late, and your time is now. Let's get started. Hey, welcome to episode 22, Happiness, the Inside Job. Yes, we are going to dive into that today. So welcome to Reinventing Thyself, whether you are catching this on podcast, listening to it on a walk, while you're doing the dishes, if you're folding laundry, driving to work, whatever it is, I'm glad you're here. If you are catching this on video, I certainly hope you're not driving to work, but any of those other situations, that would work as well. So welcome to episode 22. If you haven't caught an episode before, my name is Michelle Shutter, and one of my favorite things to do as a life coach is to really support women in reinventing their self. Because let's face it, every single day, there is an opportunity for us to reinvent ourselves in some way. It doesn't always have to be this ginormous thing, right? Every day is an opportunity for us to reinvent ourselves. And we do it many times and we don't even realize it. However, why don't we do it to the most expansive, expressive way that we can? So today, we're going to talk about happiness and how happiness is an inside job. So let's talk about the outside validation of happiness first, right? Many times we seek outside validation in terms of things that will bring us happiness, or people, or relationships, or if I get X, then I'll be happy. If I earn this much money, then I'll be happy. And that then always seems to get us. And so I want you to think about, and stop for a second, is what is influencing your happiness? Is it things? Is it people? Is it money? Is it relationships? What influences your happiness? And just create a little bit of awareness around that right now. Even if you have to hit the pause button for a second and just sit, or if you're on your walk, just take it in. What influences your happiness? And then I have a question for you. What if happiness was actually an inside job? Now, before I dive into this even deeper, I want to share with you a conversation that I had with my husband. Gosh, it was a couple of years ago now, and I don't recall exactly how the conversation came about or how it transpired by any means, but the gist of it was that we were having a conversation about being happy. And, his thing is a lot of times is, X makes me happy. X makes me happy. And I said, well, can you just choose to be happy? Like, can you be happy without having X? Can you, in this moment, just choose to be happy? And he kind of sat with that for a minute and, well, didn't really know like exactly where to go with that. And when we are relying on all that external things, the validation, we're putting happiness as an outside job, when in essence, happiness is an inside job. And perhaps this going forward, you'll think of happiness just a little bit differently. So in any moment, I have the choice to be happy. In this moment, right now, I can choose to be happy. I can also choose to be angry. I can also choose to be depressed. I can also choose to be anxious. I can also choose to be worried. I can also choose joy. I can choose bliss. Like anything, any emotion, I can choose to be. I don't necessarily require an outside influence to create that choice or to make that choice. And if happiness is one of the highest vibrational levels, joy is even higher than that, but for me, sometimes joy and happiness are interchangeable. Why would I want to choose a lower vibrational level? Now, like let's keep in mind that obviously in times of grief or sorrow or hurt, or there's definitely situations that create a lot of anger, right? There's definitely situations that create fear, that create worry, like all of that. Like it's all valid, and we can sit in any emotion for as long as we need to. There's nothing wrong with that, and we can fully experience the emotion. However, when we rely on other things to change that emotion or to create that emotion, that's where we get into a little bit of a problem. And I'm going to jump into that a little bit later in this episode. However, for me, my happiness is not necessarily created by these things, but it's enhanced. It's increased when I get to spend time with family, when I'm engaging in laughter or I hear a lot of laughter. That enhances and really fills up my cup of happiness. Connections with, relationship, friendships, those deep conversations, that all fills up my happy cup. Beaches, right? Like I love being on a beach. I love being by water. That fills my happiness cup. And so when I think about that, does it bring me happiness or does it enhance and increase my happiness? Because remember, at any moment, you can choose to be happy. So I really want you, again, to pause and reflect on that and see how is that landing for you. Are you requiring outside things to choose happiness? And I'm in the middle of a course through Hay House called Radical Wellbeing, and Deepak Chopra is the teacher of this course. And it's really interesting because he has presented a happiness formula. And I'm going to share that happiness formula with you. Now, the majority of this course just really resonates with me and really lands deeply with me. Some of this around happiness, I'm going to throw in my own spin here. Again, not right or wrong. It's just like what lands with you, what resonates with you. And so when I think of happiness again, I think of it as an inside job, and I believe that it's enhanced by other things. It's increased with other things. The things don't bring it to me, like I choose it, and it's amplified. Like that's the word I'm looking for. Like my happiness is amplified when I'm engaged in these things. So his formula for happiness is this. Happiness formula is set point plus condition of living plus voluntary choices. I'm going to go through each of these so that you understand them a little bit more. But when he's talking about set point is 50% of the formula. Okay, set point is, are you naturally happy or naturally pessimistic in a sense? The set point is already set in childhood. So if you think back to your childhood, were you around a lot of happy people, or were you around a lot of people that, complained and had a negative outlook on things and condemned other people and criticized? Whatever they displayed, you as a child actually mirrored and took that on. And it's, programmed into you in a sense. So your set point, it was already determined back in childhood. Now, the great thing is, you can change your set point at any time. Ding, ding. It's kind of like a piece of reinventing yourself, right? Is that whole set point. So 50% of the happiness formula is your set point. 10% of the happiness formula is your conditions of living. And that is pretty much financial conditions. So you are influenced on a daily basis with your financial conditions. Now, somebody that doesn't have a lot of money is not going to feel a whole lot of happiness because they can't necessarily have their needs met. Somebody that has a plethora, an abundance of money, isn't always full of happiness either. So that's just a really interesting take in this formula. The third thing that contributes to the happiness formula, and that is 40% of it, is voluntary choices. Now, there's 2 voluntary choices that people make when it comes to happiness. One of the choices they make are for personal pleasures. So personal pleasures, got any guesses? Personal pleasures are shopping. Number 2 would be alcohol, food, entertainment, and number 3 would be sex. So those 3 are voluntary choices based on your personal pleasure. Now, here's the caveat with this, and what I alluded to earlier is that this happiness only lasts for a few days and then it's gone. So when it's gone, you have this feeling of having to recreate it or do it again so that it sustains your happiness. Now, the problem that people get caught up in, shopping, and I would even throw gambling into that as well. Shopping, gambling, food, entertainment, alcohol, sex, is that when you are continually seeking that happiness over and over and over again as that external validation for happiness, it's actually an addiction. You're addicted to that feeling of sustaining that happiness. And that's why from the beginning of this episode, I've referred to happiness as an inside job. When you're using these voluntary choices and using it to sustain your happiness, you're seeking outside validation for your happiness. Yes, you can use these personal pleasures to enhance, to amplify, but don't use it in a way to seek the foundation of your happiness. Because happiness, in my opinion, and whether you may not resonate with this, and that's okay, that's completely okay, but in my opinion, happiness is the inside job. The second voluntary choice that you make is for fulfillment. And when we're talking about fulfillment, we make these choices at a deeper level for having more meaning in our life, more purpose, a way to express our creativity. And I would even add to this is connection. That whole piece of connection that is just deeply rooted in every single human being. We want that connection, that place just deep in our heart where we just feel so connected to other people. And that is just all of those pieces are a source of fulfillment. So again, like this takes up, voluntary choices takes up 40% of this formula. So again, the happiness formula that Deepak Chopra has shared is one set point, which is 50% of the formula, plus conditions of living, your financial conditions, which is 10% of the formula, plus voluntary choices, which are 40% of the formula. Now, when we think of the last 2 years of 2020 and 2021, and we really think about this emotion of happiness, it's really was a destructive time for many, many people. And even people who were super aware of, building happiness as an inside job, it really got heavy and still is heavy for so many people. And so when you think about those last 2 years, it really moved us away from divine emotions, the divine emotions of love and compassion and joy, happiness in a sense, empathy and peace. And what have we brought in? We've brought in destruction and division and negativity and disrespect in so many different ways. And the challenge in all of that is, we as individuals, we as a collective have allowed it to happen because we allowed those lower vibrational energies to take the forefront over happiness. So, we could just use fear. We can use one of those. Fear, it has been a huge one that has really diminished or tried to blanket over the divine emotions. And again, like we have allowed it. So perhaps it's time for us to really sit back and not necessarily not engage, but perhaps as a way to re-engage and really activate our happiness at a whole new level, because happiness, again, is an inside job. It is a choice. And when we look at this happiness formula that I just shared with you, is a perfect way to really reinvent yourself. Like reinvent your happiness, because your set point can change, your conditions of living can change, your voluntary choices can change. It just takes you as a participant in this game of life, essentially, to engage in those choices. Now, you might be thinking, well, my gosh, how do I change my set point? How do I change my conditions of life? How are my conditions of living? How do I change my voluntary choices? Well, you're in luck, because we actually will be diving into that in my program called Reinventing Your Year. And this is a group program, and it is a year-long program, which is super exciting because there are programs out there that are super beneficial for a variety of reasons. But this program is going to be different than anything that you have experienced, and super excited to bring it to you. And if you are looking for some more information on that, and if you're really looking to step up to in this place of reinventing yourself and bringing forth one of the 5 H's that I coach all of my clients on, happiness, like this is something you're going to want to get the details on. I'd be happy to jump on a call with you to share what those details are and to see if this is a good fit for you. If it is, great. If it's not, great. No big deal. But in order to do that, you'll have to go to reinventingyouryear.com, reinventingyouryear.com, and the information is there so that we can hop on a call together. So the happiness formula, what do you think, right? What do you think about that formula? What do you think about happiness being an inside job? Can you, in this moment, just choose to be happy? Can you let go of all the stress that is surrounding you? Can you let go of your bad day? Can you let go of the fight that you had? Can you let go of the overwhelm you're experiencing? And just for 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 10 seconds, in this moment, can you choose to be happy? Can you let happiness be the inside job? Let me know. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you're taking away. The one thing that this Reinventing Your Year program is going to be so powerful is that this journey is yours. Whether it's a journey of happiness, whether it's a journey of reinventing yourself, whether it's a journey of really stepping into the fullest, truest expression of yourself, whether it's the journey of reconnecting to your true self, whatever it is, that journey is yours. But it was never meant for you to walk alone. And having support in that journey will certainly help you in accelerating your results and amplifying your happiness. Ding, ding, bonus. So, looking forward to connecting with you to see if that program will be a good fit. And don't forget that I have that 5-day video series for you, the 5 steps to reinventing thyself. And you can find that at reinventingthyself.com. There's no charge for that video series, absolutely free. Go check it out. Let me know what you think. So as we wrap up today on episode 22, Happiness, the Inside Job, I want you to embrace the newness of change. And the change may be just how you are thinking about happiness based on this episode. Embrace the newness of change. Change is here for a reason. It may not feel comfortable for you. You may have your stomach just rumbling and turning upside down and left and right, or perhaps like there's that racing feeling in your heart, or perhaps your voice feels like it is wanting to shut down. Whatever it is, just know that the change is here because you are ready. You are ready, and it's time for you to pivot and lean into that pivot. It wouldn't be here if it wasn't your time. And so your time is now for you to reinvent thyself. Until next time. Well, what are you waiting for? Whether you've pivoted and are unsure, or you're on the verge of pivoting, there is no better time than now for you to begin. Want to know why? Because if it wasn't the right time, the pivot wouldn't have shown up. And to get you started, I've got 3 shortcuts to reinventing thyself. Just head on over to www.reinventingthyself.com and you can download it there. And don't forget to message me with the shortcut that resonates with you the most. One last thing. I know you and I are not the only ones that have leaned into the pivot. Be sure to share this with others so they can be supported too. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for supporting me in sharing this message. Until next time.